Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this second edition of Good Evening, New Hampshire. We have your local news, local sports, weather, and local arts and entertainment information. Let's begin. First up, let's begin with your news. Girl 2 dies in freezing temperatures outside Newport home. With more on this story, let's go to WMUR News 9, Amy Cavino.
Heard a little girl crying about 4 o'clock.
Shane and his girlfriend looked out the window of their Maple Street apartment, but say they couldn't see anything. A couple of hours later, horror struck.
And I saw a little girl next to the bottom of the stairway, and I said to myself, I hope that's a doll.
Little Sophia Van Schaick, just 2.5, wandered out the front door, unbeknownst to her pregnant mom and her twin brother Camden, sleeping inside just a few feet away.
I just can't imagine what the mother is going through right now.
The family just moved to Newport a few days ago, still settling in. Rose says Sophia's mom scooped up her daughter in a blanket and brought her inside while they called 911.
Newport emergency personnel responded and in fact found her that she was not responsive and was found to be deceased.
Sophia's mom shared videos of her with News 9. Her grandfather says Sophia often got up in the night and wandered around the house. He wonders if she got disoriented in her new home. He adored his granddaughter.
Just very precocious. She was a 2.5-year-old girl. Just way ahead of her time. Very independent.
The flowers started arriving around noon. Laid gently at the bottom of the stairs where a little girl who they'd never met took her last breath.
It's got to be devastating because I know if it were my child, I would be torn apart.
We did check in with the chief of police a couple of hours ago. The autopsy was completed in Concord this afternoon, and preliminary results reveal that Sophia died from exposure and hypothermia. The investigation is ongoing. We're live in Newport this evening. Amy Cavino, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire's Independent Child Advocate calls for 104 new DCYF hires. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
New this morning as New Hampshire makes strides to reform its child protection system. A new report from the Office of the Child Advocate says there's still a long way to go. Moira O'Neill has been on the job as the state's independent child advocate for about a year now, is releasing her office's first annual report. In it, she says the state's Division for Children, Youth, and Families, or DCYF, remains overworked and understaffed, and calls for lawmakers to fund another 104 positions at the agency. She also says reforming the residential treatment system for children in New Hampshire is critical, saying there are no assurances that children's needs are being met in residential care or even that they are safe.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Shaw's Supermarket in Portsmouth, 3 others in Massachusetts to close. Shaw's Supermarkets in New Hampshire and Massachusetts will be closing in the near future, company officials confirmed today. The Woodbury Avenue location in Portsmouth will be closing, though no date has been announced. Like all retailers, we're constantly evaluating the performance of our profile of stores. Closing an underperforming store is always a tough decision, but we're focused on growing our business by being the favorite local supermarket and running great stores where people love to shop. Shaw's officials said in a statement that's what will enable us to offer the products and service our customers value most in New Hampshire and everywhere else we operate. 3 locations in Massachusetts in Leominster, Lynn, and Plymouth will be closing. While the decision to close a store is always difficult, given the importance of our employees and customers, it was made only after careful evaluations and guided by what is best for the company's ongoing success and future growth, officials said in a statement. There are still more than a dozen Shaw's supermarkets in New Hampshire, including a few near the closing Portsmouth store in Dover, Northampton, and Stratham. Video shows Portsmouth man abusing dog. And let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Tim Callery.
A Portsmouth man is facing misdemeanor animal cruelty charges after police say he was caught on camera abusing a dog he was taking care of. We do want to warn you, the video may be disturbing. WMUR's Tim Callery has that story tonight from Portsmouth.
Well, this is a very difficult case, even for the Portsmouth Police Department. Tonight, the alleged suspect has been hit with 3 animal cruelty charges. This is the video that led to the arrest of 26-year-old David Dantino. Portsmouth police say Dantino was walking a 3-year-old Australian cattle dog named Knox when someone nearby noticed he appeared to be abusing the dog. That person then took out their phone and started recording.
The footage was forwarded to the Portsmouth Police Department, where we examined it, looked at it, found that there was evidence of crimes.
Sergeant Cuffer Kaltenborn says the video shows Dantino and Knox standing by the road when Dantino jerks the dog back. The force so strong it lifts Knox into the air.
In other incidents, you can actually see Mr. Dantino kick the dog, and the dog actually move from the impact.
The incident happened last month on Ann Avenue. Dantino is not the dog's owner.
Allegedly, he was training the animal to help the animal adjust to traffic conditions. What we reviewed and what we saw on the video was substantially different than that.
Dantino was released on personal recognizance bail. He could not be reached for comment Sunday night. Sergeant Kaltenborn credits the witness for coming forward.
The video footage is very, very disconcerting. And what we would certainly encourage is anyone that sees anything like this to report it.
And Dantino will face arraignment on March 4th in Portsmouth District Court. Reporting in Portsmouth, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's move on to sports. In sports, Brady Giselle celebrate Patriots' domination win over Chargers. And let's take a listen to the video.
how impressed are you by their ability to sort of adapt and change based on who they're playing?
Robin, you know, it's interesting because you said this at the beginning. Not playing a game that is having a bye week is so beneficial. The New England Patriots, look, they're always over-prepared, always. But when you give them an extra week, they sit at home while you're playing a wild card game, they are going to be extraordinarily prepared. And we saw that. They were dogging and blitzing almost every single play against Phillip Rivers. There was a stat they said at the beginning of the second quarter where on 17 dropbacks, he was on the ground 14 times. I mean, think about how beat up Phillip Rivers was at the end of this game. We saw him. He was limping around. So the game plan was exquisite. But I think more importantly, as much as you see the Pats and you say, okay, they have this short passing game, but they're not going to do that against us. And then you have James White with 15 catches out of the backfield. What do you think they're going to do? They do the same things over and over again. They just confuse you into thinking that they're not going to do those things over and over again. And then when you have Sony Michel and that offensive line out-physicaling a Los Angeles Chargers team that had been more physical than a lot of their opponents, they had no chance.
Such a good point. That game showed just how important the seeding was, right? Chargers were this close to being the #1 seed in the AFC. Patriots are this close to not having a home field bye, and all of a sudden it got flipped late in the season, and here we are, conference finals with Chiefs.
You get more
and
first
Patriots.
downs than plays in the first half.
Okay, and there you go on that video. And New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady and his wife, supermodel Giselle, both took a few moments for public celebration after the team's dominating victory on Sunday. Congratulations, Patriots, and we wish them the very best, and hopefully they'll be in the Super Bowl. And let's move on to your weather. Weather right now is a few clouds, 25 degrees. Your weather for tonight, a few clouds, lows in the teens. Your weather for tomorrow, sunshine and clouds, highs in the low to mid-30s. And your weather for tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies, lows in the teens. And now let's move on over to your arts and entertainment. And there's an evening event happening this evening at 6:30 p.m. Flying film series Ben is Back, The Flying Monkey, Plymouth, New Hampshire at 6:30 p.m. And that is it for this edition of Good Evening New Hampshire. I hope you all enjoyed this edition of Good Evening New Hampshire. And I'll see you back here tomorrow night for another edition of Good Evening New Hampshire. Good night, everyone. Bye.